I gave birth 2 days ago, and my father-in-law made me do household chores. My husband came home 2 hours early and saw me working. I knew he'd be angry, but I didn't expect all of that. His next move shocked him. Hi. My name is Valerie, and I'm 29 years old. I've wanted to talk about this for a long time, but due to legal issues, I couldn't until now. Now that I can, I want to share my story as a warning to my father-in-law. I don't want him to come near us again. Adrian and I met because of our fathers. His father, Frank, and my father, Victor, were old friends. One day, they met for coffee after many years and realized they both had single children. They decided to set us up, and a week later, Adrian and I found ourselves at the same coffee shop. Though it was a bit awkward that our fathers set us up, we quickly warmed up to each other. We found out we had a lot in common, like our love for action movies and pizza. We were so engrossed in our conversation that we didn't notice the time passing. As the sun began to set, we said goodbye, but promised to meet again soon. The next week, we met for a newly released action movie and pizza. We continued to go on dates almost every week for the next 2 months. I found myself falling deeply in love with Adrian. He also fell in love with me, which I could tell because his face would light up every time he saw me. He paid close attention to everything I said, and if I mentioned something I wanted, he would often surprise me with it on our next date. I loved his sense of humor, how attentive he was, and how much he cared for me. Because of this, I was the one to make the first move and asked him to be my boyfriend. He enthusiastically said yes. We officially introduced each other as a couple to our parents. Both our fathers were overjoyed and proud that they had brought us together. However, over time, I noticed a change in Frank's behavior toward me. He became cold and distant, sometimes making snide remarks under his breath. When I asked him why he was behaving that way or why he said something rude, he always told me it was nothing or tried to convince me I was imagining things. This bothered me a lot. And one day, I spoke to Adrian about it. He got angry and promised to make sure his father treated me properly. I was grateful for that. I knew how much Adrian loved his father, but the fact that he would stand up for me against him made me incredibly happy. I don't know what Adrian said to his father, but after that, Frank treated me like he used to before his behavior changed. I was grateful and enjoyed the stress-free time Adrian and I dated for 2 years before deciding to get married. Our wedding was a small and intimate ceremony with only our closest friends and family present. Shortly after we got married, tragedy struck. Adrian's father, Frank, had his house burned down due to faulty electrical wiring. Thankfully, he was safe. Frank was alright and unharmed as he had been out when the house caught fire. Since he had no place to stay, we opened our home to him. He lived with us for the next year. During that year, Adrian and I experienced great success in our careers. We were in a good place to start a family and decided to try. Within 2 months, I got pregnant. Adrian and I were overjoyed. We had always talked about being parents, and the fact that our dream was coming true made us feel really good. However, our joy slowly started to fade as Frank gradually became more controlling. I suffered from a lot of morning sickness and cramping. My legs got swollen, making it hard to do household chores because all my energy was spent at work. Frank couldn't stand this. He would yell at me to do his work. One day, I came home early from work because I was in too much pain. I laid down on the bed and took a short nap, but I was rudely awakened a little while later by Frank. He began yelling at me for not having done his laundry. Disoriented from being woken up, I asked Frank what he was talking about. "Valerie, why didn't you do the laundry today? Now I have nothing to wear." "Wait. What? Why didn't you do your own laundry? It's not my responsibility." "It's your responsibility as the host to take care of that. I'm literally in so much pain right now. Are you trying to start a fight about this?" "Oh, come on. You're just making a big deal out of it. Pregnancy isn't that bad. You have no idea what I'm going through. It's not easy for me to manage work and house chores when I'm feeling so unwell. That's not my problem. Get out of the room. Get out of the house. Get out of my life. How dare you talk to me like I'm faking everything? Who are you? Can you feel what I'm feeling?" Frank looked scared and quickly left the room. I couldn't believe his audacity. How dare he try to tell me my pain wasn't real? What would I gain from faking my pain? At the same time, I was yelling at Frank. Adrian had come home from work. He worriedly ran upstairs to check on me and saw his father hurry out of the room in fear. He walked into our room carefully and saw me crying hysterically on the bed. He quickly sat down next to me and hugged me, letting me cry for a while before asking why I was crying. I recounted everything that had happened with Frank and how he had been constantly yelling at me whenever I didn't do the house chores. Adrian got really angry and stood up to talk to his father, but I stopped him. He saw my pleading face and calmed down. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? I knew how upset you get. I didn't want you to end up evicting your father, causing more tension between you two." I felt sorry for him, so I kept it to myself. "Babe, I understand why you did that, but I should have known what was going on. I want you to share everything with me, especially when it's affecting you like this. I'm sorry, darling. I should have told you, but I didn't want to cause more problems. You never have to bear these things alone. We're a team, remember? I promise you I'll talk to my father calmly about his behavior, and I want you to be there with me for that conversation. Together, we walked into Frank's room. I was nervous about what Adrian was going to do. I know that he gets very protective of me, and his temper isn't the best. While I was hurt, I hoped he wouldn't do something he regretted. Frank looked surprised and asked why we were in his room. Why are you both in my room? What's going on? Enough with the act. Valerie told me everything. You've been constantly yelling at her about the household chores. Well, she should be doing them. After all, I'm just a guest here, right? You could have either done them yourself or waited for me to do them. You didn't need to bother Valerie like that. It's a woman's job to handle household chores. I don't care about your beliefs. It's my house, my rules. I'm your father. You can't tell me what to do. This is my home. And if you can't respect that, then maybe it's time you find another place to live. You can't do that. I have nowhere else to go. The only reason I haven't evicted you already is because Valerie asked me not to. But if you cross the line again, I won't hesitate. I promise, I won't do it again. Just please don't kick me out. You need to change, Dad. Treat Valerie with respect like the family she is to us all. The rest of my pregnancy went relatively smoothly. My symptoms eased as I progressed further along. Finally, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Adrian and I were overjoyed to welcome our precious daughter into our family. We named her Ava. I stayed in the hospital for 2 more days after giving birth. On the 3rd day, Adrian picked us up from the hospital before he left for work and dropped us home. Frank warmly greeted the 3 of us. Oh, look at my precious granddaughter. You've done such a wonderful job, Valerie. She's the most beautiful bundle of joy. Thank you, Frank. It means a lot coming from you. Valerie needs some rest now, Dad. She just gave birth, and Ava kept her up through the night. Don't worry. I'll take care of the baby. You go and get some rest. Valerie, I don't want to be away from Ava so soon. Trust me. You'll need this rest soon enough. Dad will take good care of her. You rest, dear. I'll be here to look after Ava. All right. But just for a couple of hours. Then I'll take over. That sounds fair. You rest now, and I'll do the same later. Thank you, Dad. With that, Adrian left for work.